Hey everyone, Joshua Hanlon here at BrickFair Virginia 2022, and I'm joined by a couple of the builders who worked on this fantastic World War II collaborative layout here. So if you want to introduce yourselves, then we'll take a look.
So my name is Nolan Quinn, and I'm known as History Builder on Instagram.
I'm Hunter Clark. I'm hunter.a.clark on Instagram.
And before we dive into the details, tell us a little bit about kind of the story of this whole layout.
So the Battle of Aachen took place in October 1944, and it's the first cities that the Allies reached in Germany itself.
So the battle that we're depicting here is right in the entrance of the city. So we have the outskirts here where there's a lot of dead German positions that come up there. They reach like a center area where the main battle's happening. So like this Sherman just got taken down. All the Americans are taking cover, and Germans are kind of taking up position trying to take out the remaining Americans.
I mean, this is a fantastic layout here. So let's kind of start out in the grass section, then we'll make our way into the city here. So tell us what we have happening out here.
Right, so these are my sections. So I built out the farmland and the farmhouse first. I wanted to add the trenches, mainly to signify the Siegfried line that would be protecting Aachen at the time. We added the AA guns, and we wanted to make it look like the battle just happened through here. So we had the King Tiger that was just blown out. We have all the dead Germans. One of my favorite scenes is the two guys picking the Luger off the dead German, kind of like Band of Brothers style. And the little MG turret up there that got taken out. We got all the refugees leaving the city. That's what we mainly want to signify around here in Aachen, just because all the Germans wanted to keep the refugees inside to keep collateral damage. So that's the Americans liberating them. We got like a resupply station up here for one of the Shermans. They're like taking out one of the Brownings. Surrender Germans up there, and a medic station. And we move inside.
And we can move into the city here?
Yeah, so one of the cool details about the city section is the way we did the road. According to our estimates, there might be about 10,000 1x2s in this display for the road network. We tried to get we wanted to really elevate the city, kind of bring it from the grassy hills and elevate it to the central city. So here we kind of have a little more residential area with a few industrial buildings like a meat shop. Over towards the back row, we have like more industry. So that dark orange building right there is Karl's Apotheke, which is a real apotheke that exists in Aachen, Germany. A lot of the buildings in this area are drawn from real buildings in the city. We tried to add a park. It's a little smaller than, one you might see, but it's an important detail in the city that we wanted to include. We have a sponsorship from Brick Fabric, so if you're looking at the Germans, a lot of those capes are from Brick Fabric. And the tanks, which we'll get into in kind of the last section, are provided by ARM Panzer Brick Labs on Instagram. And the red car and this white car are provided by Budget Builds.
Yeah, this is fantastic here. I think the park is a nice detail because it really stands out against all the gray of the sidewalk and the roads, and even kind of incorporating the little like foxhole scene there in the park. So really contrasting there nicely.
Yeah, thank you. This park was an inlet built by Legend Lego World War II's, who's behind the table right now. And one of my favorite details was this bank, which sits in the center, which we tried to get it's a really nice curved wall there that angles more than 90 degrees, and we really it's a nice centerpiece to kind of contrast the park with the greens with a like very big gray.
Let's take a closer look at some of these buildings then, if we can, especially how like deteriorated this is.
Yeah, so this is a library. I wanted to capture kind of a bunker position. So down there is a Pack 40 that's kind of been collapsed on by a roof, just roof, rubble. Those guys have been crushed in there. I tried to add a lot of loose books because, Germans big on like book burning. So obviously when they find the library, they're going to rip all the books and burn anything that's not of use to Germany.
And then, like you said, this building, the bank building here, has a great architecture as well. I love kind of the smoke effect coming out.
Yeah. Thank you. The smoke effect. We have 3 other collaborators who aren't in the video. This was provided by Milo Bricks, who's just a great builder. He helped us a lot with the dark red building and just kind of finishing things off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as we move back to the back section here, what do we have?
So these are supposed to represent the inland city, the much taller buildings. So I have a lot of these have occupations. I have the hotel. This is supposed to like loosely represent the big hotel that was in Aachen. Of course, this is too close to the outskirts to be it, so set a small one up there. The bakery, that was the only building that I made that was actually based off of a real building. So the bottom half of that is a real building. My cobbler is my tallest building. That's kind of like makes the roots of the skyline. That's the little backdrop of this entire mock. And of course on the back we have the Aachen sign.
Incorporating that lettering in there is always super cool, especially because you've got those big flat walls, so it adds something nice.
Right. We just didn't want all the ugly sides, the ugly flat things, so just add a purpose, put a sign on there.
One thing that I really like that you did on these buildings is the way that kind of the rubble is kind of coming out of the front here as it's been destroyed.
Right. So yeah, I wanted all brick built rubble just so it's a bit more bulky. In Aachen, there was a ton of rubble. They moved a lot of it to clear out streets. So the brick-built rubble that's over there, that's like pouring out into the streets, was kind of like scooted up over here. Same thing with the stuff that's down here. But yeah, so what I really wanted to represent is like the bombardment of Aachen. As we get in city, further into the city, it gets like to the point where streets are uninhabitable. You can't move through them. So that's kind of what we're getting at over here. Just the destroyed buildings.
And so as both of you were working on a lot of these different buildings, did you kind of have general color schemes in mind and kind of making sure everything would work together nicely within the town? How did you kind of plan on that?
I mean, we brought in a lot of, try to bring in natural colors. A lot of almost all of the buildings feature dark or light bluish gray detail to some degree, just because that's the natural stone you're bringing in from that area. And I personally spent a lot of time on Google Maps looking around Aachen, trying to find buildings that I was able to either reproduce or pull colors and designs from and make my own.
Yeah, that's great. Take us through a few more of the details here. I love like the shell hole there into that building.
Yeah. So these three buildings are my personal favorites. In there's just a little library. And one thing that I think is really important to talk about is the lack of toilets and staircases in Lego builds. So you can see I wanted to make a hole, and I was like, we need a toilet in there. And I left some fun little details for those of you at home to find. Right next to it is a tailor shop where you can kind of see some mannequins standing there clothed. And yeah, so this is a lot of fun detail, especially with the roofs, pulling different styles and designs, Yeah.
I also love the lettering that's incorporated into some of the buildings, like the blue one over here.
Yeah, thank you. That was done by one of my friends, and it's a meat shop. It says Fleisch, which means meat in German. All of our signs, we made sure to translate into German so that it was accurate to the real city. And we really enjoyed that. It uses, a lot of sideways snot techniques. You can see I also used it on the rad sign there, and it's used to spell hotel as well as beer on the side of the mug.
This little hidden room here on this building is very nice as well.
Yeah, one of the biggest things we integrated into this collab is a lot of interiors. So as he showed the blown out bathroom in there, he's also got an open door in the pharmacy. Yeah, as you saw, the hotel room. And mainly in the library, Nolan here, he built out this blown out pack, but there's like a bunch of books everywhere. We got the upper floors with the snipers coming through and the officer. So yeah, we try to integrate even like the blown out buildings back there. We just wanted a lot of that. It adds realism, gives the city more character.
Yeah. And this is such a massive collaborative here. So do you have any idea how many pieces are in this, or how big it is?
I know that the area is about 55,000 square studs. I'd say we're looking at about 10,000 just for road plates. So I would put the estimate between maybe 500,000 around. I don't know exactly. We weren't really part counting here. But, we brought, there were 5 builders bringing plates, and then we had 2 different vehicle sponsors. And so it's just a lot of people's stuff in here, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's so impressive. Talk a little bit more about kind of the research aspect. You mentioned like Google Maps and like Google Earth type stuff. What else did you guys do to find inspiration for it?
So mine back here, these were mainly freeform. You can see at the front they're mainly Normandy style because I'm using the building in France. But in the back, I just we had a friend on Instagram, and he told us exactly like how German buildings should be looking. So like all those architectural cues, different window designs. Nolan mainly based his off of like real life buildings. So he went around Google Maps. He went around looking at older photos. We just wanted to really capture Germany instead of France.
The best resource I was able to use were, archival websites and actually postcards. A lot of postcards feature important aspects of the city that you're able to use to build real buildings. And a big challenge that I faced was some of these buildings do exist and have to kind of bring them back 70 years and make them, period correct. So if you look at Karl's Apotheke today, you'll see a much different sign that only existed back, back during when the Battle of Aachen occurred.
So take us through some of the minifigures in the layout as well, because there's some fantastically detailed minifigures with some great kind of weapons and accessories here.
Yeah. So one thing that we really like doing is injured soldiers. We have an entire like a medic station on the outskirts. We try to do a lot of like figure positioning, getting interesting positions with the brick arms weapons. We use crazy arms as well to help that. Of course, putting a lot of studs across the build so that when we did get to convention and were placing down minifigures, they had easy, convenient places to go.
Crazy arms are such a great, useful tool for posing, especially in any kind of like military build.
Yeah, so mainly with the posing that we had in like the center battle area, we sat here like last night, last minute, just putting up all these. We really wanted to make it feel like these guys were like hiding, trying to get these corners, trying to tuck up, trying to save their wounded. So, especially in the foxhole, you see like they're kind of panicking. The Americans are finally starting to break through.
Well, this is such a fantastic layout. So great work to you guys and everyone who contributed here. What was set up like once you got this to the show?
I personally brought 9 plates. Hunter brought 9 plates as well, and most of the other builders brought 2 to 3. We just kind of, a lot of it fit together. A big challenge we faced was lining up all the tiles. 3 plates needed to be retiled at the convention to match the detail. And of course you have to, fill in gaps and make, kind of layering smooth between plates. And a big focus of ours was making the MOC really viewable. So we made sure that, whatever angle you looked at it, you could see good stuff and you weren't seeing like too much filler and kind of the behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
We kind of had a bit of a timing issue with some of the builders. So some of these had to be built on spot, like the library and that dark blue building and that dark red building, all built here.
It's not a real Lego show till you're building on site to finish.
Yeah, definitely. But now we get to relax. The past 3 days are still part of the collab.
Right. Well, thank you so much for all your work here, and thanks for taking us through it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.